Hey guys, looks like the rest of our class forgot about us. Where are they? We only have you two. You two are important.
Yeah.
Did we
Why
call
don't
it
you
off? Did
say?
I say something dumb? Like don't come? I don't think so. Brady's here. That's all that matters. But yeah,
What do you have, Moni? You have coffee?
coffee, yeah.
Good. Just water for now. I just wake up.
Trying to get
I
going.
just woke up, so just water for now.
Just when my husband has been taking that to-go cups and he keeps forgetting them, so we won't have any anymore. But at least he's taking coffee. How are you, Brady? Are you there? Is he really there? He's good, yay. I have some people that are just like dropping into the Zoom session and then, I don't know, going back to bed or something. So it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny to watch them. Oh my goodness, well, where do you guys think everybody else is? What do you think?
I'm over.
It's unusual because I was just like double checking attendance and we have several people, you know, that have been in every session. So I don't know if there's something going on.
Oh, you know who?
Like Cole and oh goodness, I can't think, but a lot of different people have been here for every single, let me check. Yeah, Cole and Chase, Greg. I mean, some of them have had network trouble. Maybe so. Do you guys want to look at any file handling, or do you want to just work on your final project? It's fine with me either way. So there's plenty of videos out there if you want to just do it that way. Thoughts? We can just go ahead and open ours, and then I'll just leave that video out there for this afternoon and tell them it's optional if you guys want to go ahead and do that. And if you want to leave, that's fine. I don't care. But I'll turn off this video and we'll just go ahead and make our final audio CD app be all the way done. I'm going to stop this video. Now Wednesday too, I planned on just doing some review for the final. So it's a pretty optional day. I'm going to stop this. Let me share my screen. I keep trying to do that. We'll see if anybody else makes it. I hope I haven't messed something up. I did put a new router in the home network and I have messed up some things, but you guys were apparently able to connect. I must be making it out to the internet. It's okay. Okay, I wanted to go back to our chat on Discord to make sure that we're all looking at the same version of the application. So we had finished the last updates to our audio CD application on April 20th. So it's been a few days since we looked at it. After we completed it in the afternoon class, we found a bug. So I did update it and send that update out. Let's go ahead and make sure to download that update. And I'm going to unzip this to my project folder. Somehow I got off of it. Sorry, I was just making sure I get it to a place where I can find it again. And find it. Okay, so I have done our audio CD form project folder, solution folder, I guess. And I want to make sure that I've got everything. I think I needed to create, yep, I should have created a folder for that. Sorry, I keep telling you guys to do that and then I didn't. I'm going to delete that. And extract it again. I'm going to call it audio CD update because this is the one where we have our update code. That looks better. And then I'm going to open my solution. Let's take a look at our project. It's been, like I said, over a week or so since we've looked at it. Make sure everything looks right. Does it look like the right one? Aha. Here's our application the way we left it. And if you notice, we don't have a menu bar or a toolbar. So we're going to need to be adding those. But before we do that, or we can do that on our own, because you guys have all that information available. We just want to add in the ability to open a file and read the data in to our list box, and the ability to save a file with all of the data in our list box. So I'm going to move our label here out of the way. And whoop, let me move you to the label. I'm going to have to move him manually. Can't do anything this morning. Come on. Are you not going to let me work? I didn't mean change it out. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm going to delete this stupid thing. Because I want to put my menu bar in. So I'm going to go find my menu strip control and add that to my form. And since we're going to be doing file things, it's easiest if we just go ahead and add our menu strip, because we don't need to be creating, fake controls on our form. So I'm going to create our file menu, number FILE, and then we're going to have file open. We had seen last week the access key for open is O, and we're going to have file save, which we saw the access key was S, and then we'll have save as, and access key is the A. exit. And its access key is the X. Now I want to make sure and put some of the separators between my different menu items. If I right click, I can insert a separator. I could do that like above my save. Then when I look at my menu, I'll have the kind of separator lines between those different options. So if we look at our menu, we're going to create some event code for if somebody clicks on the open. We're going to create some event code for if they click on save or save as. So we're going to make this work the way a Windows application works. If somebody clicks save and they haven't chosen a file name yet, we'll basically run our save as method saying, go ahead and pick a file name, tell us how you want to save that file. It seems like it would be easier if we create our output file first, kind of like we did on our examples, and then we can create code to read that file. So I think we'll do our save and save as first. Because we need to know if somebody's already chosen a file name, we need to make a global variable or a class level variable for our file name. Let's go do that. I'm going to press F7 to look at my code. Right now, class level instance variables, we have our current index and our instance of an audio CD. Let's add a new one. Hey Cole, we got the application from Discord, the one we're starting with, because it's been a week or so. We're glad you could make it. We were wondering. We just thought we'd go ahead. Back on 4/20 is when we did this application. The afternoon class, we found a bug. So I fixed that bug and uploaded an updated version on 4/22 in Discord. So that's the one that we started with. And we just barely have gotten started. We put our menu bar on there. And now I'm going to add a string to hold our file name. We'll start out with our file name being a null value. And just kind of keep track from there. Thanks, Cole. Let me know if you run into any trouble. Okay, so I was thinking a lot yesterday about our application and how it's all these nice controllable little pieces, but they kind of get a little unwieldy. So I have some pictures that might make things worse. Let's look. It's not going to let me show it to you. I swear things just don't want to work today. So here's one, and it's kind of got my shadow, sorry. But if you think about the hierarchy chart that you were shown in the 120 class, where a hierarchy chart just says this function calls these three functions. Well, down here at the bottom, I have our kind of utility functions that we created in our application. We have one function or method that loads our current instance, our audio CD, from the form fields. So whatever the user typed, we save those into our audio CD instance in this method. We have another method, load form, where we do the opposite. Whatever data was saved in our instance of our audio CD, we load that to our form fields to display. We have another utility method called enable, disable, that just enables or disables all of our different text boxes and things that are detail items, depending on whether or not we're going to allow the user to type in those. And then we had some major methods to handle the updating of our list box of all of our items. We had an add, an update, and a delete. Now, they're named a little bit different than that, but that's the basic gist of things. Now, we're going to be adding some more methods, an open method, and maybe a save or save as method, because we're going to need these to be able to handle our file management. Now, if we look at it as a hierarchy chart, our form calls our menu methods. And our menu methods, we will have file open, which calls the open function. We'll have file save, which will call our save function. We'll have, maybe an edit menu with an option to add an audio CD. That will call our add function that we already have in place. We'll have an enter menu item to update. That will call our update function that's already in place. And then finally a delete. So we'll be able to reuse these methods that we've already created to make our menu work. Then we'll be able to reuse those same methods for our toolbar. So adding in our toolbar once our menu is all created should go pretty quickly because we can just call the methods that are already in place. Now, besides those, we have our list box selected item changed method, our OK button method, and I think we have the form load. So we can kind of limit it down to these specific things and maybe take a picture, look at a picture and see a little better. It's not the most beautiful picture, but it does make us think about it in a structured way. So looking at our code, we really have our form methods, like our form load. Now in our form load, if you remember, we created this test database class to generate data so that we would have some test data. We have all sorts of things going on in our application. Is that thing even doing anything anymore? Yep. So that's where all of our test data is coming from. If I update, I can change things. Memories. It works great. All right. So we may not need that form load process anymore because we're going to be asking the user what file to open. So we'll be making a few changes. We've got our file name instance variable created. So we're ready to add in some code for our menus. So I'm going to go back to our menu and I want to create, first of all, our save function. So I'm going to double click on that. This method is wired to the menu save. So we're going to check our valid file name and then save it if we have one. Now I think that we'll create this method, save file by name. So let's put a comment. The file loaded, just save. Now, if the file is not loaded yet, we don't know what file name they want, we need to run our save as. Let's call this save as select file name. That's pretty long, but I want it to be really obvious as to what's going on here. Now, after they give us a file name, we should be able to save it. So if we set up two separate methods, we'll be able to reuse them successfully. And we may need to come back to this method. We'll see if we've got everything in place or not. After this method, let's create our save as select file name. In this method, we want to use the file dialog. And in order for us to use the file dialog, there were a couple of things we needed. We need to, at the top, put in a using statement. If you remember, we need system.io. I'd also like to have that file dialog control on my form. So I'm going to go back to my form design, and I want, let's see, the save as or save dialog. Save file dialog, there it is. I'm going to add that to our form. Is save file dialog 1. Let's make our default extension txt. We can suggest a default file name. Let's call it audio. How about audio data? A little bit more specific. Now in our filter, remember we did this last time. Let's go ahead and put that in. We're going to say that you can view txt files with star.txt and all files with.
We did not see what you're typing. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Can you see it? It's little.
I got it. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, so we're saying text files versus all files. And you find your pipe character. I know we don't use that very often.
Yeah, I got it. Nice.
Now, if you remember last week when we were working with the practice application, when I was saving, I was getting that message, you're going to this file exists. Are you sure you want to overwrite it? That prompt could be disabled if you wanted to disable it. It's pretty nice though. Let's put a title on our save. And let's make it choose audio data file name. How's that? And then since we have our save file dialog all configured now, we should be able to use it in our code. And of course, we could instantiate an instance of our save file dialog without associating it with the form. You know, we just could create that instance and put all that code in ourselves. Either way is fine. we've gone ahead and created it. Let's call this file save. And it'll be our new file dialog. And we don't really need to instantiate it like that. Sorry about that. I've got to look at my code. Let's see, I'm going to open our menu file dialogs application because we had such good example code in there. I think this morning, all right. So first I want that dialog result variable. And we'll use that variable. So that's how I would instantiate it if I didn't already have it on my form, but we don't have to do that. So I'm going to get mine all messed up. So with our dialog result, if we save the result of our save file dialog, show dialog command, does that equal our dialog result? Okay. Now notice we can eliminate that result variable. We could just say if save file dialog run dot show dialog equal dialog result, okay, because that's going to be returned. But it's kind of nice to be explicit in the code. Up to you. Now, when they've chosen that, we're going to be able to save or update our file name then that we're keeping track of as a global variable. Did I just name it file name? Oh my goodness, yep. So we can just grab the file name property from that save file dialog. So they've picked one. We're ready to try to use it. So to use that, we need another method. And here, so we've got our save as select file name. Now we need to actually just save file by name. We saw last time, it was super easy, right? We just said we wanted to create a stream writer. And in our stream writer, we would output all of our list box items. So let's see what we can do there. We're going to say, okay, I want to allocate a stream writer object. We'll call it file out. And our stream writer is going to use the file name that we have set up as our instance variable. So now we're saying, open that file for output. We're ready to write to it. And we want to loop through all of the items that are in our list box. So for our list box, each of its items are what we want to see. So can we use a for each loop? For each audio CD. Well, that works except for audio CD. It says, you need a parenthesis first of all, dummy. Okay. Well, that looks good. We can just use a for each loop and say for each of the items in our list box CD, make that item an audio CD for this for each loop. So for our for each loop, we should just be able to write out that item. Is it that easy for us? Let's see. I need to add a little bit of commenting, make sure some things are lined out here. Okay, so somebody clicks save on our menu. We run our save tool strip menu item click event. If we have no file name, we ask for a file name. If we do have a file name, we save it, and then we're good. In our else clause here, we're pretty much assuming that they enter a file name. So we should probably add an if statement there. If our file name is still empty, then we just want to kind of return right, because they are not really interested in saving a file. So if make my logic hat on today, if it's not empty, we can save it. Is that correct? I mean, my camera to give you guys a look. Is that right? That looks right. I just don't want to accidentally assume that they gave us a file name and they didn't. So we don't have any errors or anything. Put in some comments. Our save as select file name shows a common file save dialog box to allow selection of a file name. And here we are use selected file name to write out the whoa, we are set. Let's try running this. Ready? Okay, so here's all of our albums. If we go to our file menu then and save, good enough. There's our audio CD save as dialog. Choose your audio data file name. We've already got it set as text. If we do the drop down file type, we could change to all. Looks good. I'm going to save it to my desktop so that I can find it. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Oh, there it is, audio data, text. Oh, it's empty. Did we forget to close our data file? We did, didn't we?
Yes, we forgot to close.
We forgot to close it. And we don't have any try-catch logic in here. That's bad, right? Because we know we should have that. So we're doing this awesome right line outputting thing, but we should really have a try-catch, and we should close our data file. So let's add our try. And I want to close those the curly brace after our for each. So in our try, we're going to make sure that we can actually write out our file. I kind of think let's go ahead and put our file open within that try also. I'll move it down, because we could run into an error there. Invalid path or something like that. Okay, better. So now we're saying we're going to try to open this file. We're going to read through all our audio CDs and output them. Now we could just close the file at the end of our loop, but we could actually use our try-catch structure to do a little bit better of a job. Let's say in our catch, if we catch any sort of exception, we're going to save that as an exception object named EXC. And then we're going to update our, let's see, did we have a text box for our message? And set it equal to the message from that exception object. And then I still haven't closed. That's because I'm going to put it in the finally. Now the finally clause executes whether we had an error or not. So even if we run into some sort of problem where we don't get one of these items written out to our file, we still want to close that file. So if we put that in our finally clause, really the safest place for us. So we're going to say our file out, we want to close. Now, see the problem we're having here? Because I've opened our file within our try, that made it a local variable, and it was only local to the try. So I have to declare our stream writer outside of the try. Then I can actually instantiate it to open the file within our try. And then our file out should be able to see it. Why can't you see it?
It's good.
It's still like, no, I still can't see it. It's gonna make me into a liar. Like, I'm not gonna let it work. We've got it out here. You should be happy. Well, you know what the best thing for us to do would be to use that using, isn't it?
Our newsletter.
Let's do that. We'll say using. Let me get this whole thing up here. No semicolon, but end it with a parenthesis.
Yeah.
Get rid of this last little snippet there. Okay, how's that? So many ways we can code it, right? And it can just drive you crazy because it's making you have errors here and
You need to watch this close.
huh?
It's a baby. Yes, death or maybe oh.
Oh. Yeah.
See it? Okay. So this should take care of us no matter what. Because we're using the using clause, if we do run into an error somewhere within processing our file, the file should still get closed. Our using clause should take care of closing the file after we've done the processing. It'll take care of opening the file. We could be buried in a never-ending wedge of try-catch statements, right? Let's see how this works. We should be in pretty good shape. So our problem before was we saved our file, but there was nothing in it. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I don't have that file open somewhere in Notepad or something, and then I'm going to run. I want to choose File, Save. Here's my file that I want to use. Yep, I want to replace it. And I'm going to close my app and go look at my file. Now I have stuff. That's not exactly what I was kind of picturing. It's not word wrappy or anything like that. It's just the way it is. It's like we output a separate line for each of our different fields. And that sounds right, doesn't it? Because that's what our toString method does in our audio CD class. So it just doesn't format things properly for us for outputting to our file. So we're getting stuff. That's okay. Are you guys getting stuff in your file? Getting some data? We need to fix that data though, don't we? So easy enough. Let's go to our audio CD class. Now we could, right there where we are, we could say, oh, I need to add a method. And in my method, I'm going to just do different things with that data for the audio CD. But remember, we have an audio CD class, and it's the perfect place to put that kind of thing. So what if we created a new method? I'm going to expand my instance and class methods here. Right now, in our audio CD class, we have our calc value method and we have a toString method. What if we added another method that was like toFile? We're gonna return a string out of this one. And when we're outputting a file, a standard file format for text files is called CSV, or comma separated values. So let's output a CSV file. If we output with comma separated values, then other pieces of software will know how to read in our text file, because every place they find a comma, they'll know that that's the beginning of a new data field. So we kind of want the same output we have here. So let's copy that. But we decided these new lines were pretty bad. Instead of the new line, we should have a comma. So we could do all sorts of fancy things and try to transform this data from, like I say, from the string value. Totally up to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of all of these colons also, because special characters like that in our data file can cause trouble. So we're just gonna output the actual data followed by a comma. On our genre, I don't want a comma, right? Because that's our last data field. So I'll get rid of that one. Our genre string. Our genre string is like a value that's interpreted. We probably really don't even want that in our data file. Let's get rid of it. Reason being, we have our genre code is a way to keep track of that without using excess space. Yep, we could. So lots of ways we could handle for sure. Now, because our calculated value is also something that is not really a fixed amount, I don't want that in our output file either. So that would be CD val. We don't really need that calculation. Now, think about these things. Why would I get rid of these out of our file? Because we don't need to keep these as static data. We recalculate that value all the time. What if our value calculation changes? We want our value calculation to be up to date. That's why we made it a method. That's why it's separate. So we don't want to carry that in a file. So what we're going to end up with is just some of the basic data fields in our class. I'm going to get rid of all of these comments now because they're distracting me. And notice we got down to basically our default audio CD data, which is just what we need. So now this method will output the audio CD instance as a comma separated string. And I'm going to save that. And in our form code, where we're writing out our file line, instead of just writing out our item, we need to use our toFile method. And now we should be able to run that. Save it. And then we have some nice, beautiful comma separated values that we're ready to read in as input data. Is everybody's working okay? Good, thanks. So look how simple it was to solve the really big problems here. These are really big problems, right? Whenever you're a beginning programmer and somebody says, write out all of these instances to a data file, it's like, what? Well, we can take care of that with just a few simple lines of code. So we set up our information to prompt them for what file to use, using the common dialog, so it looks very nice, but we didn't have to do that much work. And then we use that data file that they choose to output. Now, a little more testing. If I run and choose save and then cancel, we should end up back. So everything looks good. Now I want to add our save as functionality. So on our file menu, if I double click save as, this should basically be the same kind of thing, right? So in our save as, we're going to check to see if there's a file name. And if there is, we're going to use it. Sounds like I should make that a method. Let's do it. So here where we have our save tool strip menu item method that we've already created, let's create a new method. let's call it save checker. And for our save checker, we want all of this code, this if-else clause. So let's select it and move it. Now, my save tool strip item should run the save checker. And what should our save as run? Save checker. So now it's done. They're both done. Put a comment. That's for valid name and file. So this way, no matter what our user does, whether they pick save or save as, we're going to try to handle that properly in our code to keep things from canceling and to make sure that they've been able to pick a valid file name. Now, when I opened our class, I sure did like how our information was organized with our region statements. I think it might help a lot with this one. So I'm going to come up to our first save method, which for me is my tool strip menu save click. And before that comment, I'm going to add a region statement. And I'm going to put an end region. After that last one, now can we collapse that one down a little bit? So that helps me a little bit organizing my code. I think that I want to do that a little bit more. We have a lot of, like I say, default methods and things like that, as well as form methods. We might want to go through and try to organize those. But first, let's focus on our open. So we have our save methods all done. Our open methods are going to go after them because of the way we've created things. So let's add a pound sign region statement for that. And we're going to say methods for opening and input file. And the first one we're going to want, oops, kind of the same as our save, only really things are a lot easier. If they do file open, we're just going to use that file name they've already given us to ask, you know, is this the one you want? And we'll allow them to select another. So to allow them to select another, we need the file open common dialog added to our form. I'm going to click to our form design and find the open file dialog, and I'm going to drop it on our form. We'll set the file name here in our code. We do want our default extension to be txt. We'd like that same filter. Txt file star.txt. All files star.star. Keep going here. our title, we'll make it be our audio CD file open. Oops, and that should be good. I don't want to change that one. All right, so we're ready to create our event procedure. On your file menu, double click your open. And here's our file open tool strip thing. Now I got a region problem here. I'm going to move this end region up above that one. Oh, and my new region. There we go. Now I can put my end region for closing this one, and maybe it won't move them around on us quite so bad. So when somebody clicks open, if we have a, well, we really don't care if we have a file name or not, do we? We want to set our file dialog open file dialog 1 dot file name equal to the file name that we have saved. So if we don't have anything saved, there will be nothing there. Then we're going to use create a dialog result variable. And if the result of showing our open file dialog is dialog result okay, then we can open the file using that file name. Let's save the file name they chose. And we need to call some sort of method to open our file and read it into our list box, right? So this is going to be a little bit different than what we've done before. So we're really going to be opening our file and processing it. So let's say this will be process input file. Now, if they don't choose a file name to open, we're okay with that. We'll just ignore that and redisplay our form. So that all looks good. Let's put a comment here. So we'll process that file name if they wanted it to be open. Okay, so in our process input file, we should probably just go ahead and use the using clause. We're going to say using a stream reader named in file, which is, oops, I need that new keyword, which is opening our file name. We want to process this thing. So for each thing in our file, we're going to need to make that into an instance of our audio CD and then add that to our list box. So we need a new CD. Whenever we are looking at reading an input file, remember we're going to process it with each different row being treated as a record. So we're going to read in one of our audio CD rows. Let me bring up that text file. So the first time I issue a read statement, I'm going to get this row. What I'm going to need to do is split out our data fields. So based on all these commas, I'm going to have to say, you know, which one is the audio ID, which one is the number of tracks, all that kind of thing. So we have to split, we merged our data together to make this comma separated value. Now we have to blow it back up, blow it back out of these comma separated values. So first, we have to read. Now, in our application that we did last week, we saw that if we set up a string that was our input record, it was a little bit easier for us. So we can say while, again, I'm not looking at the right one for that. Let me get our project open. There it is. Okay, so in our while loop, we're going to say while my input record that comes from our input file doing a read line. So we're going to read a line out of our file into our in record variable. When we do that, we want to make sure that our results are not null. If they are null, we've gotten to the end of that file and we don't need to process it anymore. I need some extra parentheses here. So let's put a set of parentheses around this command so that our results can be compared. All right, so while we can read, while we have an input record, we need to process that input record. We need to split it up into an audio CD instance. So let's create another method. Create, how's that? Ooh. We'll create audio instance. Create that method. It can be private. Sometimes I just get in the habit of making things public. Create audio instance. Okay. So we've read this record. We should probably have this passed to us. Input record. Because remember, that's not a global sort of variable or anything. So our input record needs to be split up. It needs to be split up into a bunch of different fields. So I'm going to create a string array called fields. And we're going to set it equal to, oops, I need that square brackets to say this is an array. And what we're going to set that to is our input record, and we're going to use the split function. And I used it in Python. It works really similarly to a lot of other languages. What we do is we say, well, I want you to split up this whole long string based on a given character. That's like our separator character. It has to be a char data type, so single quotes. In our separator character was a comma. So now our fields array should contain data for each of our different items, fields. We see I've never PowerShelled any splitting things. Cool. Okay, so our fields array then, we're ready to create an instance of our audio CD. It's just not going to be as pretty as it could be. So what's our audio CDs named? My, this, this CD. We're going to make it a new audio CD. Remember when we created our audio CD class, we created a default NOR constructor, which we've been using a lot, but we also created a constructor that has all of our different data elements included. So we could actually pass all the data in as we create this audio CD. So let's try it. The first thing we need is the audio ID. Well, the audio ID is going to be the first field we read. So it's going to be in our fields array at position 0. Next, we need our album, which will be at fields position 1. Next is an integer for our number of tracks. Okay, so I need to convert to int field at position 3. So notice how, because I'm going to have some confusing code with all of these array positions that are hard-coded, because those hard-coded values correspond with our data items. Oops, that should be a 2, shouldn't it? Then I like to have it in this vertical display so that it's easy to see the different fields being loaded. Okay, so we got that one. What's going to be next? IntelliSense, there it is. Okay, so after our integer number of tracks, we have our decimal cost. So my cost needs to be converted not to an integer, it needs to be converted to a decimal. Next is going to be a character value for our genre. Now we're looking at a string here, so again, we're going to have to convert it also. Can we say to char? We sure can. In our fields array at position 4. Why are you mad? What am I missing? Okay, so we're adding a new audio CD. Oh, I don't have a purple parenthesis. There we go. Adding a new audio CD, and we're using this fields array that we created by splitting the data from our input file. Okay, so field 0 and 1 are easy, and then our others have to be converted. Now that we've got this CD, we should be good to go, right? We've created our instance. So once we've created that instance, we should be able to add it to our list box. I want to do that in our while loop because our create audio instance just created the instance of the audio. We don't want to get it confused with adding to our list box. So items, add this CD. Remember, our this CD instance is a class level variable, so we can update it down here and then write it to our list box in this method. Okay, a couple more comments. Split the record into fields, create an audio instance using our fields. And up here in our process input file, we will read each record from the file. Each record. Now, the only way I'm going to know for sure if this works is if I get rid of our form load, right? Because our form load was creating all that test data. We have our test data now captured in our file, so we should be able to eliminate that processing in the form load. I'm going to go find it, and I'm going to see if I can You have a thought? Now in our form load, the part that I want to get rid of is just, I still want to run our enable disable. How's that? But I'll comment out the use of our database, which was super nice. Okay, let's try it. Now it's empty. I should be updating those. Let's do file, open. I'm going to pick my file. Crash. Input string was not in correct format. Now, I can view the details and look at all this information in the exception report, but I can also look at my locals window and maybe see a little bit more about what's going on. Let's see which one it didn't like. We've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. What's that $sign? Why do we have that $sign? Let's go fix our text file. And we have a couple of places to fix because we could get rid of that $sign. Do you want to? Thanks, Cole. We could get rid of that $sign, but the best bet would be to not have our output created. So let's fix all that. First, in our audio CD class, let's hear where our cost is. We don't want to format that as currency. So I'll just get rid of that. And then in our text file, we should be able to get rid of that $sign. We know that if we write it in the future, we won't be writing that $sign. So let's save that. Back. And let's try our application now again. File, open. Yay, there's all our data. So now I should be able to change something. And save. Save as, if I wanted to pick a new file name. Oops, problem there. Save as. We better do something a little different. But I'm going to close and run. File open. I should see my Here Comes the Sun that I saved. Very good. Now in our Save As, let's change that a little bit. Our open seems to all work good, so we can collapse that region. And in our save, when they click Save As, here's Save, Save As. I'm going to create a string, hold the current file name. And then, we'll just go ahead and clear out the current file name to assume that they want to create a new one. When we come back, if the file name is still empty, we'll just go ahead and set it back to the one that we saved. Now I wanted to put that in to prevent this problem of Save As not prompting for a new file name. So let's see if that takes care of that problem. Open. I'm going to update one. Oops, got to pick one. Update it. Fun. And then I want to save. Now I want to do Save As. Waha, it works and lets me give a new file name. So that's what I wanted. Now, as we've done our open and our save, we need to update our message. So whenever we are working on our save in our method, we have lots of choices. We can update our text output message in many different ways. But let's say we want to be really specific with it. So in our save checker, we are actually controlling things for both of our different save processes. So that seems like a really efficient place for us to put it. So let's say if we actually save our file, so now I need some parentheses here. Save file by name, my text box message. Okay, so if they save it We're going to update that message. If they don't, we're going to say they canceled the save. Maybe a different way to do that. But that'll work. I do need to comment on this method. Check to see if a file name is currently available. Alrighty. Okay, so we've got our save working and our open working. So that should get you pretty well far towards the requirements for the final. You have already got sample code and methods in place to do the add, update, and delete. You know how to do the help about. So Wednesday is totally optional. Don't feel bad if you don't come, it's okay. But before we go, does anybody have any questions? Is everything working okay? You got it all? Okay. Be worried about the rest of our class. I hope they're just out there working on their final, which is just fine. So thanks, you guys. I will see you Wednesday if you like. Bye.